genre.
Weekly podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Cassandra Fredrickson.
I'm Nick Jimenez in Venice.
And I'm Scott Corelli.
And today on the show, we'll be discussing Vampires of Venice, the 11th Doctor's fifth story.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Vampires in Venice, it's interesting because Vampires in Venice... written by Toby Woodhouse.
Yes.
Favorite of the Doctor's Companion crew.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Toby Woodhouse, directed by Johnny Campbell. This story it's interesting how this came to be because Toby Woodhouse he sort of had a banner year in Doctor Who in 2006 when he wrote School Reunion. But he also wrote a Torchwood episode called Greeks Bearing Gifts. And then he created Being Human, which sort of distracted him from ever getting to work on Doctor Who again for like a long time. And it wasn't until Moffat took over, having been a fan of Being Human, and having
as we all are.
Right. And having never met, I'm a huge fan of Being Human. I love that show. But Toby Woodhouse, he had never met Toby Woodhouse, but he loved Being Human, so he asked him to come back.
Sorry, I can't stop hearing it the other way.
He loved Being Human.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I didn't understand your joke at first because I'm staring at it in italicized letters, and so I'm just thinking about it in context.
Yeah. Not lowercase b, lowercase h.
Right. So anyway, so he was a fan of the show and asked him to come back. And Woodhouse said, "Great, I have an awesome idea about the Doctor being trapped in a labyrinth in a hotel."
Oh, yeah.
And Moffat was like, "Well, we kind of have a maze thing in this Time of Angels episode that I'm doing.
True. Yeah.
So could you maybe think of something else?" And so he came up with an idea of a premise that would allow like Rory being a new TARDIS traveler. And so they thought, well, let's make it sort of romantic. And that brought them to Venice. And then he was like, well, how about vampires in Venice? And that's how we got this story. Not unlike Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, the Vampires of Venice. It's sort of a high concept kind of thing.
Yeah, it really is. To speak of it in Shakespeare's terms, it's a comedy. It's a lark. It's
right.
It's purely for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Except for like that woman that gets eaten.
Yeah.
Well,
it's Doctor Who,
which isn't anyway.
We'll talk about it,
So as far as production, that's really all it was from the writing standpoint. It was meant to be a sort of mid-season jump on point for new viewers. And who had maybe like heard like, oh, like Doctor Who's back and it's like better than ever. You should check it out. And then this was supposed to be the jump on point, which I don't think necessarily works because I'm pretty sure the majority of Doctor Who viewers don't really care for this episode as much as we do. I remember it being reviewed middling to poorly when it was released. Yeah. So, and it's one of the reasons why people don't like Toby Woodhouse like we like him. Everyone was like, oh, don't let Toby Woodhouse be the new showrunner because Toby Woodhouse did Vampires in Venice and that wasn't good. And it's like, what? In what world is that not good?
So did they just not dig the hotel one as much as we did?
No, they don't like this story.
Okay.
I don't think
Okay.
I don't think people like Godplex that much either.
God complex. That's what it's called.
Yeah, God.
So they
Complex
go
is-
with the guy that did Dinosaurs on a Spaceship instead?
Well, people really like
Man.
Broadchurch. And to
Yeah,
be fair,
I know.
Broadchurch is excellent.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I
But-
quote God complex like almost every week of my life in
Mhm.
some way. Just
Yeah.
I find it seeping into like my speech.
Yeah. So they basically, what they realized after writing this was that, they didn't have enough money in the budget to, travel twice, and they had already paid, quite a bit for Richard Curtis's script for Vincent and the Doctor, knowing that they needed to shoot that on location. So what they tried to do to save money is they tried to find a location that could double as both. And what they settled on was Croatia, where there was a town in Croatia that was actually controlled by Venice in the 16th century, which is when
cool.
this story takes place. And so it was all Venetian architecture and everything. And then they could go out to the countryside nearby, and that's where they shot Vincent and the Doctor. Yeah.
Man, I love it. I love it. I love hearing about just the ingenuity and the practicality of just the movie nerd in me, because like that's the work. Like that's what makes it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And just finding those little miracles, like, whoa, oh my God, this place used to have this architecture. We should use it.
Yeah, totally. Also interesting to note, and this is sort of a minor thing, but just like this story was filmed over the course of, I think about 8 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Because it was filmed, they started filming it at the end of November, and then filmed through December until Christmas time, took a break for Christmas, and then came back after Christmas to wrap up filming by mid-January. And then they shot plates for the story in Venice on February 13th. So like really from beginning to end, all the pieces that they needed for this story, they filmed over the course of like, I think that's about 12 weeks of time, which is crazy. Cause they filmed this in 3 different locations, because Rory's Stag Night stuff that was filmed at the Bowls Inn in Caerphilly, and then they moved on and filmed in Tregear, and then they filmed, I'm probably pronouncing all of these wrong, apologies to everyone who's cringing right now because of my stupid Americanness. I apologize. And then they went back to Wales and filmed in Wales, and then they went I think Tregear is the city in Croatia. Yeah, Tregear. Yeah, Trogear, Croatia.
Cool.
So yeah, I think it's interesting, like how many different places they filmed. Cause the corridors were all in Wales, in a castle. And, there was also some corridor stuff that was filmed at a stadium. They filmed in like the basement of a stadium, and turned that into like the catacombs underneath the castle and stuff.
Classic Doctor Who.
Yep. So anyway, just some, I don't know, interesting production stuff on this one, I think, which is not always the case with this show. Usually production goes pretty well without a hitch. It's the writing that tends to be the more interesting stuff, but this time, other way around.
Which is saying something when writing is the most interesting part of something.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, that's fun. And like, that was the first year for so many of those, for that team, you know, like that group of creative people, that must have been such an adventure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I actually, of the 3 modern Who's of this go round, much to my surprise, because I actually don't remember having strong opinions about this one either way, or at least I don't remember, you know, whatever. I had so much fun watching this one.
You know what it is, and I think we've talked about this before, because I think the 3 of us did. the three of us did for was it the 200th or 300th episode of The Doctor's Companion? We did that thing where we ran down the Matt Smith era.
Oh, yeah. I think it was like 200.
200?
I physically remember recording that.
Yeah.
So it was like 3 hours long.
Yeah. But I remember at the time you hadn't seen any Classic Who. And so you were like, yeah, this was fine. And me and Cass were like, oh my God, it's so much like Classic Who. We love it so much.
Oh,
and
wow,
see?
That's true.
Yeah. Now you've watched Classic Who and now you get what we're getting out of it, I think. And that's why you responded to it more this time.
What a journey we've all been on.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's part of the reason why it was received so poorly by modern audiences.
Maybe.
Right. It's a little like not getting, it's like kind of going to see Speed Racer or something kind of aping something that isn't even in the zeitgeist.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That could be something, yeah.
Yeah, because this is very, very Classic Who.
Because the equation of modern Who that I say all the time, I'm not saying something original, but it's basically Alien, which is of itself kind of Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. But I don't think of like a creature knocking off a supporting cast one scene at a time. That to me is so Russell T. David Moffat. But yeah, you're right. The kind of running around back and forth, the bad guys having a home base, just kind of sitting there plotting. It does have the energy. There's a lot of the characters regrouping and planning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This feels like you can literally take this story, remove 11, Amy and Rory, and put 4, Sarah Jane and Harry, and this episode makes it's exactly the same.
It's like I'm seeing the Matrix Code for the first time. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's so crazy is I think the reason I find this episode so fun is because it is that classic Whovian story structure, but we get to see these young punks, these pretty kids do it, and they're having a blast. And like, I kind of said this last time, and anyway, I've already I'm done for now.
Okay.
Because I think because my next thing was going to be like another big thing, and I didn't want to.
Oh, anyway. Yeah. Anyway, do you pick up on those Classic Who vibes, Cass?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It reminds me, now that we're thinking about like new Who that feels like Classic Who, I can't remember the name of the episode, but the one in Capaldi's last season with the Roman soldiers and the Celts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that's another one that is just Classic Who, but in 45-minute chunks instead of like an hour and a half.
Yes. No, totally.
I also can't remember what that one was called.
I can't remember what that one was called either.
Something
but I remember thinking it was very Classic Who.
Something about light. I feel like it has the
Eaters
word
of Light.
Eaters
of Light.
Okay.
Eaters of Light. Yeah.
There we go. We got there in the end.
God, last season was weird.
It sure was. Remember that 3-parter that just never ended?
Oh man, yeah.
It just kept going and going and going. Anyway, so this story, so one of my favorite details about the story, I remember when I was watching this the first time when it aired, I remember being a little grumpy because, as you know, listeners, I do not like when supernatural things are in Doctor Who. It bothers me for whatever reason.
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't like it. I don't like it when the devil's in the show. I don't like it when werewolves are in the show.
Sure. I mean, yeah, you wouldn't want Kirk and Spock to go back in time and meet Christ and his disciples.
That would be weird. That would be pretty weird. I
not judging either one, just saying it would be weird.
It sure would be. So when this first aired and it was like vampires, like it was like multiple things that I didn't like because it was like, oh, I really don't like the vampires are in an episode of Doctor Who. And they really,
they're going to say Venice.
I really hate that they're in Venice, any other city.
Why?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh, I was like, what?
I'm kidding. That would be a stupid thing to hate. I
hate this. It's overused.
No. So I didn't like the vampires were in there, and they were really leaning hard on the fact that no, these are definitely vampires. Like they're definitely sucking blood. They're allergic to the sun. They don't have a reflection. Mm-hmm. Like it was all the vampire tropes, and I was like, oh god, these are vampires. And then on top of that, Another thing that I hate is redesigning creatures for no reason whatsoever, like just to make it your own. So like I hated the way their teeth looked. Like I hated it. So like for a good like 30 minutes of this or like 20 minutes, I don't know when you get the first reveal that they're fish people, but like for the first like 20-25 minutes of this story, my arms were crossed and I was very upset with this
like Rory.
Yeah, with this whole thing. And then her hologram disguise thing goes down and you see that they're fish people. And I was like, oh, they're fish people. Okay, great. Perfect. Awesome. And then I'm totally on board and I love this. And now I've loved it ever since that I watched this because you can see all the hints of the fish people reveal. Mm-hmm. Like it's in the very first scene. It's like after they send the father out of the room. And the girl is like left behind. They start circling her like sharks do prey in the water. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. I love that. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's little things like that. You know, there are a few things more enjoyable than seeing or experiencing people that are really good at their craft, just like jamming. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the skill of, you know, like the director knew to do that or thought to do that. Because he read the script and knew what he was doing. I think it adds some muscle to this as well as it being like a fun ride. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Question: how / I guess more so why?
How I
was going to say how / why, but like the how is, you know, somewhat I guess explained, I guess. But like why is the doctor in a cake? Like, why is he in the cake? Why is that how he chose to make his entrance?
It's kind of, it's the single most Moffat-y thing in the episode. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Cass, what do you think?
It's just a silly gag. Like, definitely. The pretty girl's gonna come out of the cake. Oh, just kidding. It's the doctor. Like, yeah,
and he really kissed your fiance,
right?
Yeah. But I really like that you brought this up because I had a big kind of personal revelation watching this because I've strong opinions about every doctor because I'm a nerd, but 11 in particular, I've gone so back and forth. Sometimes I think he's great, sometimes I think he's annoying and whatnot. But like. Watching this right after Girl in the Fireplace, it was fun seeing awkward Hugh Grant fumbly tumbly 11th Doctor. Mm. And it's like, oh, I really liked it when he was this guy.
Yes.
Because he had a youth about him, like moments like him pulling out his wallet and it's his library card and you see Hartnell and he's like, oh God. Or like someday that, like he's bumbling, but there's a youth to him, but he's not trying to be cool. Mm-hmm. And yeah, when he gets out of the cake and he's utterly lost and he doesn't get that the girl in the bikini was like supposed to be a sexual thing, like doesn't even register to him.
Right.
He actually thinks it's more worthwhile to say that she's diabetic in case, she has health reasons coming up.
Well, because she was in a cake.
She was in a cake. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. She was like, she's diabetic and you put her in a cake. So I took her out of there and I took her place.
Great. She shouldn't be in this cake.
She's diabetic. Someone get her a jumper.
She's like wearing his jacket.
Yeah. I think, I agree with you. I think that's one of my favorite parts of this. Like, I like that he's so embarrassed with the fact that like he somehow unbeknownst to him, led Amy on.
Yeah, he's like, I don't even get what I did or what it means. Yeah, I just know that it's wrong and you should know about it.
Yeah, he was just like, she kissed me and I'm so sorry. That is not what I meant to happen. So now I'm here to get you because obviously I screwed up somehow and I need to fix this.
Yeah, and it kind of what gives us, the audience, permission to have so much fun watching this is because the whole time it's the doctor's backward way of trying to make things right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He doesn't want to be a wedge between Rory and Amy, even though Rory isn't really a friend to him yet. He's just like, well, no, that's not cool. I need to take responsibility for this, even if I don't really get what happened. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I like this dude better than the guy we see later on in his era, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah. I think that's largely why everyone sort of agrees that series 5 is the best season of 11. I think is because of his character more than anything else. Cause like the writing, like the cleverness of the writing, Wedding of River Song aside, you know, the cleverness of the writing doesn't really, you know, not, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. I think a lot of the times the writing just sort of started to wear on us because we started seeing the Matrix Code. You know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, we get it, Moffat. We know what you do now and we're over it. But with this, I think the thing that is really distasteful with those later seasons is that we just don't like the Doctor as much.
Yeah, it's like the difference between a guy who is the smartest person in the room but doesn't realize it and a person who knows he's the smartest person in any room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, and you get moments where the Doctor's like, look, everyone who isn't me, shut up. Like, but it feels like it's coming from more of a flustered place, you know? Or,
yeah.
or
like I
know,
legitimately, cause like that's more of like a joke about how when you're like, oh, let me think. Cause like this is something that you and I do when we're talking
yeah,
about,
that's true.
when we're talking about writing and like, I'm like trying to figure out a problem and you're just like shooting out possible solution after possible solution. I'm just like, okay, Nick, I just need you to stop talking so I can actually think about the problem.
and it's coming from like, no, let's solve this, not from like hey dum dums, which is kind of what it feels like in other seasons.
Yeah, totally.
Or even like, you know, the bit early on where the Doctor's like showing Rory the TARDIS, and he's like, so if you had to think, and Rory's like, oh, it goes this way and that way, and the Doctor can like, I like the part where he says it's bigger on the. It's a little bit like you hurt my ego, but it feels like a childlike ego more than a gross
that's my favorite
ego.
part, and you didn't let me do it. Yeah,
you ruined it. He's mad for like 2 seconds, like a puppy.
Yeah, he's like he's upset that he ruined his moment, but then he's also like, well, I did kiss your girlfriend. I guess that's
we're even
fair
now.
play. Yeah, fair play. And he's like, hey, you know, I kissed your girlfriend. You kind of kissed mine. Talking about the TARDIS, like,
yeah,
you know,
ruined
my moment.
I like Rory. It's really interesting watching. Again, we talked about this briefly, but like Rory being a guest on this journey, just like Mickey was a guest in Girl in the Fireplace, and seeing how the two Doctors interact with that differently.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And how 10 is so like could give a crap about Mickey and like kind of treats him good, you know, benign, good natured, but nothing kind of.
He's the tin
respectful.
dog. He's the tin dog.
Yeah, he's a little tin dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I like this better where the Doctor's trying and failing to get on Rory's good side.
Mm-hmm. And I love the thing, the very doctor-y thing about when the Doctor sort of figures out what's going on and he confronts the lady, the bad guy. I forget what her name is. The Queen
Helen
lady.
McCrory.
Rosanna.
Yeah.
For once, I know the actress and not the character.
Right. Anyway. Oh, Rosanna, right?
Yeah.
Rosanna?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to confront Rosanna about all of this, and she sort of like says everything and like talks about like, you know, she killed Isabella, but she's like, yeah, I killed that girl. You know, I fed her to my sons or whatever in the water, because I have to, like, we're the last of our kind and we're trying to survive and whatever. And then he says, I'm going to stop you. But not because, you know, you're wrong, not because you're trying to survive, but because you didn't know Isabella's name.
Mm.
And I love that. Like, that's such a doctor-y thing where it's
Yeah.
like, you know, I understand where you're coming from empathetically. Like, I get it, but also you didn't even bother to know her name. So you don't respect these creatures that you're murdering.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that. That's such a doctor-y thing. It's great. It's the kind of line that you can absolutely hear Tom Baker say, you know?
Right.
Early Tom Baker.
It take a while.
Yeah. It's true. I just love that. I also love Rory constantly confused by the fun that Amy and the Doctor are having, where he's like, we're all in danger. And they're like, yeah, isn't it great? And he's like, what's going on? Like, he's just so baffled. It's great. Oh, I love Rory. I've missed him.
I also forgot how much of this episode is him wearing his bachelor party shirt.
Mm-hmm. And then the gondolier wearing the bachelor party shirt.
I love the visual gag of him like driving the gondola with like the freaking Stag Night shirt.
So good.
That has to be something you could find on like T Fury or like Etsy or something, right? Like that shirt.
Oh, probably. I love the doctor putting the hard candy in Amy's mouth after he what is it? She gets hurt. How does she get hurt? What happens?
The vampires drink her blood.
Oh, right. And then he like kind of fixes her up, and he's like open wide and puts the hard candy in her mouth. And he's like, she's like, so good. I love that. I love how much 11 can simultaneously be like a grandpa and a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's my favorite part about him, I think.
Yeah, I don't know where I read this, if it was like in a magazine, but I think Stephen Moffat once said that Matt Smith is a young man as if remembered by an old man.
Mm.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I do like that. I love Rory with the broom and trying to use the sign of the cross on the fish man.
Oh man, God, this has everything. This has everything I love. It has like pretty dresses. It has like freaking vampires. It has like a wannabe sword fight. There's like family drama.
The crazy action adventure third act movie ending, like with the doctor climbing up the tower to turn off the big MacGuffin thing. It's so good. I do have questions about Rosanna's her because she has like this little hologram thing,
right,
that she turns on, and like her clothes as when she's a human match her fishiness, but then the hologram thing breaks and she's like permanently a human, and then she can take her clothes off, and I'm very confused by how that works.
I don't know either.
Yeah. Okay. Like, how did her clothes suddenly become real? I don't get it.
Well, she can't jump in the water with the pretty dress on.
Yeah. But the pretty dress isn't real.
It's the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Thing, I guess.
That's true. He's always got pants.
Anyway.
You still got those pants that Harry Dean Stanton gave him.
Yeah. She feeds herself to her kids.
Oh man, Helen McCrory's so good. Like,
yeah,
she's so good.
She's just walking, like knocking it out of the park, and just is able to be like, yeah, I know exactly how to play this character. So it's the campy in all the right ways.
What else has she done?
She's Mama Malfoy in the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, that makes so much sense,
doesn't it?
And she's a great. I think she's the season 2 big bad of Penny Dreadful.
Oh shoot! Really?
Yes, I think season 2. Like I think she's also a vampire in that.
Oh, hey, spoilers. I need to watch that show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you would be into that show.
You would devour it. It's so good.
Yeah. There's some. I will say that there are a few uncomfortable things in season 1, but then they pay off in the later seasons when everyone gets their revenge. And it's,
okay.
It's real satisfying revenge.
Oh yeah, it's literally, and it's 3 seasons in and out.
It's real good. The best, literally the best Billie Piper performance you'll ever see. Where she plays 3 distinctly different characters over the 3 seasons, and it's amazing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, for any Whovian out there who hasn't seen Penny Dreadful, we give it the Doctor's Companion Book Club seal of approval.
2 out of 3 at least so far.
Yeah, 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 ain't bad, like the man said.
Yeah. Apparently she's in Peaky Blinders too, so.
Yes, and I'm slowly making my way through that too. I think she's really good.
Oh, and she was in Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Who was she in Fantastic Mr. Fox?
The voice of Mrs. Bean.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah.
I love it even more after watching Isle of Dogs. That's all I'll say about Isle of Dogs.
Oh, she was also David Tennant's mother in Casanova.
Oh yeah, and there's that bit at the beginning
That's
where
really funny.
where the doctor's taking them on a tour, and he's like, "Whatever we do, we can't run in the Casanova."
Mm-hmm. That's so funny.
That's awesome.
I like that joke works on like 3 different levels.
And apparently, there's some show that was a retelling of Frankenstein where she played Victoria Frankenstein.
Shut up. Oh my God. I'm watching that right now.
And she works in advanced stem cell research.
Oh boy.
Looks like it's from that era of BBC when they were like remaking
like Jekyll and stuff.
Jekyll,
right, like
Primeval.
Yeah. Exactly.
Primeval based on Robinson Crusoe.
Oh my God. Benedict Wong plays Igor.
Holy crap. Yeah, I'm watching that.
That's a game changer for me.
He plays Igor. His name is Dr. Ed Gore. Dr. Igor.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
All right.
Okay.
Anyway, I've never heard of
this. And you feel for her when she's like making her long lonely walk, you know, as big of a butthead as she was the whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, God. And Matt Smith really sells and one of the things we've talked about liking about the new Doctor is the humans are not his only species that he cares about.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He is a citizen of the universe, and when he sees a clockwork robot or a weird fish vampire, he knows how everything is precious and a life means something, and it sucks when a whole species dies out.
Yep. Yeah. He tries to save her, you know, and she just is like, well, boys gotta eat.
And I guess the way they kill off Isabella and her father are, you know, it's always unpleasant to watch, but it's like, because you care about those characters, but that also feels a little classic Who.
Yeah.
Where very few of the supporting cast ever meet happy ends.
That's true. And Isabella does get that bomb ass line where she's like, "I am Venetian."
We swim. Both of their dying words are about being Venetian.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They're pretty cool. This episode is the episode that taught me that Venetian blinds are from Venice.
What?
Because I never put that together before.
Sure,
I thought they were just, I just take the name of it for granted, the blinds.
That's
I was like, oh, that's just what you call blinds that look like that. Okay. No. When you learn what things are and you don't really question why as a kid, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and then this episode, they're like, we are Venetian. I was like, oh, like the blinds. Oh
my God. That's really funny.
I can kind of appreciate Colin Baker a little more when watching these new Whovian, watching the new Doctors, and whenever they're kind of more a little uppity or like snooty, I'm like, oh, they're kind of like showing their sex a little bit.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
for sure.
Good.
And the joke of like Amy being like the companion that's cooler than the Doctor is funnier to me now with that context, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of like her being like the on her phone companion.
I mean, we've got quite a few more 6 Doctor stories to get through. But I'm excited to get to his Big Finish stuff because I think you're going to like it a lot.
I'm excited to. I'm really excited to like 6 Doctor stories.
Yeah. Once he gets Evelyn as his
so
companion.
Good.
Yeah. Like, I think as we've described it before, it's like his companion is like Professor McGonagall.
Yeah, basically.
It's so good. Anyway.
Doctor Who, you guys.
Yeah, Doctor Who. All right, well.
So what's next, Scott?
We've got the first story is The Keys of Marinus.